With a host of star veterans, some very familiar names to Premier League fans, and some form on the international stage that is quite frankly outstanding, can the Lions of Teranga, Senegal, prove why they are many people's World Cup dark horses? Hello everybody and welcome back to Full House Sports. Here myself, Charlie. A reminder before the video starts to please like, comment and subscribe. Anything you guys do is greatly appreciated as I try and become a one-man sports news bandwagon. Yes, next up it is Senegal in my team previews. A team that, like I say, have been a real growing force, I think, of not just African football, but of world football in recent years. When you cast your mind back to even the 2018 World Cup, where they were hard done by really to not get through in that group stage. You then go a little bit further forward to 2022, and of course they did get through, but were unfortunately, for them anyway, knocked out in the round of 16 by none other than England, despite progressing from the host group against Qatar and Ecuador. And now they find themselves, I think, a real contender for these international prizes. And they're a side that as well have got a decent history at the FIFA World Cup. Of course, this group stage will see them reunited with France, who they, of course, shocked in probably one of the biggest upsets of World Cup history in the opening game of the 2002 World Cup. So there will be many memories cast back to that. Now, like I said at the top, they are a side with star veterans. Immediately, the names of Kalidou Koulibaly and Sadio Mane spring to mind. They are two players that have been the real stalwarts of this Senegalese rise in form. Mane, of course, now, and Koulibaly, both still plying their trade over in Saudi Arabia in the Saudi Pro League, but of course have dazzled at some of Europe's top clubs. Koulibaly, of course, most notably at Chelsea, and beforehand where he was outstanding at Napoli. And Mane might be one of my favourite players I've watched when he was at Liverpool. Just a freakishly good player. So quick, athletic, powerful, with a stunning shot as well. Both of those, like I say, two of Senegal's more experienced players, but they do have other players who are young. Of course, Iliman Ndiaye at Everton has dazzled many with his quick feet. Ismaila Sarr as well has been a real standout for Crystal Palace this year in their season. As well, Pape Sarr, who finds himself at Spurs, is another player that springs to mind. They have got players all over Europe at their top clubs. And also top that off with, of course, Nicholas Jackson up front, who, despite being ridiculed by a lot of Chelsea fans for maybe his lack of goals and also his attitude, is actually for Senegal a really important part. I'm going to touch on that why in a minute. I had the pleasure of watching Senegal actually when they played England at the City Ground last year in a friendly, and I was really impressed by Jackson. I thought what he offered for them was something that a lot of international teams need in a striker. He runs the channels, he does the unselfish stuff, and he's a very strong player as well, and which allows him to bring a lot of these other players like Ndiaye, Sarr and Mane into the game. And I think they're going to definitely look to use him as well at this tournament to do that. I think, like I said, despite the ridicule he's had by Chelsea fans, he's a very, very underrated player when it comes to international football. Now, Senegal, of course, made headlines in January, and I got a fair bit of stick on my Morocco team preview for saying that they were the African champions. Of course, we know what happened in the AFCON final when they walked off the pitch due to their seemingly disagreement with the decisions made by the referee. They then, of course, were walked back on as to Sadio Mane convinced them. Diaz missed the penalty and they went on to win the game 1-0 and became African champions. Now, of course, that decision has been overturned in a courtroom. Like I say, I got a lot of stick off Morocco fans on my video for saying that I thought Senegal were the rightful African champions. But I think if you take the fiasco side of the courtroom and everything else, the statistic that really counts is that Senegal are undefeated in international football since January 2024. That is outstanding. And like I say, they did go to the City Ground last year and defeated England, becoming the first African nation to ever defeat England. That is a symbol of how much this team believes in what they're doing and is also growing. The coach Pape Thiaw is an inexperienced manager relatively. He's only ever managed at club level and then the Senegal A side, which is made up of domestic players. This is going to be an interesting test for him this tournament. We saw how he reacted to adversity at the AFCON earlier this year, bringing the players off the pitch. If he can't do that again at a World Cup, it's going to be interesting to see how he adapts to these situations. But like I say, they're a side that massively believes in what they've done. Since AFCON, they've defeated Peru 3-1 and also, 2-0 and beat Gambia 3-1. They are a side that I think are definitely believing a lot in what they're doing. They came to qualification and didn't exactly blow everyone away. They just edged out DR Congo, actually, in a group that also contained Mauritania and South Sudan, who, in African football terms, are relative minnows. But one thing that did immediately spring to mind out of that was just how solid they are defensively. Koulibaly is a juggernaut, and of course, Edouard Mendy is another important part of that in goal, a player who's going to really the spine of their team is something that they very much rely on, and that defensive solidity is going to be something that I think, with a big physical side that they are, is going to make them a very hard opponent. This group is stacked when you think about it. Senegal, France and Norway, as well as Iraq making their first appearance for 40 years. It's going to be very interesting to see how they cope. I fully expect all three of these to progress out the group, France, Norway and Senegal, and get themselves through, because obviously we're all the third place going through. But I do think, despite me saying it earlier about the group, this is the World Cup group of death. This is such a tough group. But I'm really excited to see this Senegal team again on the international stage. As always, guys, please let us know what you think. Please like, comment and subscribe. And anything you guys do is greatly appreciated as I try to become a one-man sports news bandwagon. As always, have a great day.